So, greetings everyone, and welcome to the Hivehound's general guide for World of Warships Legends. This is everything you will need to know to become more effective at World of Warships. So, whilst we're waiting for the battle to start, the first thing we're going to cover is spotting. So, as you can see, this is the mini-map up in my top left-hand corner here. And around the mini-map, we can see that we have two teammates accompanying us. Our good buddy Mr. Reagan here in this rather large battleship, and we have Cal over there. He is spawned in the centre of the map in the destroyer for us. Now, obviously, at the moment we can't actually see any of the enemy team. We are up against 9 bots in this current battle, and there we go. Over there, the Brenteg is spotted. Cal has spotted him. And even though he can't see us, we can see him thanks to spotting. So how does spotting work? So around my ship you can see 3 circles. We'll talk about the gold one in a later video. Don't worry about that for now. The blue one is my concealment range when I'm not firing my guns. Now Cal is inside the blue circle for that Brenteg over there, but no one's inside my blue circle, so I'm not spotted. There is also a second white circle. Now this is the maximum firing range of my guns. If I fire my guns, that blue circle expands out to that line. That means I am visible to the maximum range, and as you can see, I'm firing here. I'm not getting spotted because I'm not in direct line of sight of anything, even though we have this Koenig spotted over here. He cannot see us, but I can see him, and I can shoot at him safely from the cover without any real chance of retaliation. Which takes us on to my second point, which is what type of ammunition to fire and when. So, as you can see, this Koenig is bow on to us, which means the front or the rear of the ship technically is pointing at us. If I fire my armor-piercing salvo at him, we will see, if I aim at the bow of his ship, at the front of his ship, you see, yeah, we ricocheted 3 shots and one of our shells shattered for absolutely no damage at all. Now, a ship is split into 2, the hull and the superstructure. Remember those, we'll talk about them a little bit more in detail in a second. I'm going to aim up at his superstructure and see what sort of effect that has. And what we're hoping for is a little bit more, but again, yeah, nothing. 5 of our shells bounced off him. But what we're going to ask is our good buddy Mr. Reagan here to hit that Koenig with an armor-piercing salvo. And we are going to switch to our high explosive shells in the meantime. There, you see Reagan's shooting at the front of him, but Ray, because he's got large caliber guns, can actually do some damage. So I am going to swap to my high explosive shells. Now, high explosive shells don't do as much damage in general, but they do have a unique feature of setting a fire. So we only done 300 damage, but now he's on fire. That fire damage is going to continually tick and continually do more and more damage to him. And now I need to reposition myself to get some better angles. But in the meantime, what we can do is our good buddy Cal is sneaking up awfully close to that Omaha and that Brenteg over there. Now, destroyers have a unique weapon. Cruisers have them as well, but destroyers, it's their main sort of forte. And what Mr. Cal is going to do as we push down here is he's going to send some torpedoes at that Brenteg. And hopefully by the time we get around this island, they should be in queue to hit. And the reason I'm telling you this is spotting. Now, destroyers are the sneakiest, then there's cruisers, and then there's battleships. Now, that blue circle, as you can see as I come around this corner, I'm spotted. So obviously I'm very close to these ships, so we know why. Has Mr. Cal fired off his fishies yet? If you'd like to go ahead and shoot Mr. Cal, so we can see what happens. So I know if I'm spotted and I can't see anything, it's going to be a destroyer that sees me. If you're in a battleship, it's either going to be a destroyer or a cruiser, and you want to be aware of this because if there's a destroyer around and you're not paying attention, you're not changing your direction of travel, you're not moving, or you're a destroyer and you're sitting in your smoke screen, bad things are going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And as we can see, those are those sneaky little fishes. You can see them travelling over there. I think he's ignored the Omaha. Pay attention to that Brent egg. Oh no, he caught the Omaha and the Brent egg, and he destroyed one and almost killed the other. Alright, so that is something that you definitely want to pay attention to. So that is why we mentioned spotting earlier. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Cal. Right, okay, so we're going to move on to, back to me. So this is what we call the broadside of ships. This is when a ship is showing you its full side. So if we look at this Koenig here, ignore the cruiser in front of it. If you look at the horizontal line of my ship, this is the deck. Now below the deck is the hull. Above the deck is the superstructure. So all this stuff here, all these funnels, all this command tower, that's all superstructure. This big, huge, massive sheet of metal is the hull. So if we shoot at the hull in the Omaha, as you can see, we do well, essentially very little damage at all. I'm now going to shoot at the superstructure because I'm in a cruiser. I've got lower caliber guns. As you see, not huge damage, but significantly better. Now, what we're going to do is ask our good buddy here, Mr. Raygun, in his Julio Cesare, to basically end that Congo. So this is what happens if you've got a battleship caliber gun. Yeah. So this is why you need to pay attention and consume about your angles. If he was bow on, Raygun would have done very little damage, but he was showing full broadside to big battleship guns, and he got ended. Now, does that mean firing armor piercing is absolutely useless on a cruiser? No, it is not. Here we have the Japanese Furutaka. So I'm in the Omaha. I have got my armor piercing loaded. Citadels is something we'll talk about in depth a bit later on, but as a general guide, where their exhaust funnels are on the superstructure, below that is generally where the Citadel is. And we are gonna, see 6 Citadels. We almost ended the life of that Furutaka in one salvo. Taking into account, we did very little to that battleship earlier on. So now we're going to move on to our final enemy that we are likely to come across, which is the Jaguar. Now, if I fire my armor piercing at him, as you can see, we do very little damage. We get 5 overpens. What that means is our shells have travelled completely through the ship. It's gone in one side, out the other, and any explosions or any damage we were going to do, insignificant. Makes no difference. The minimum, we do 10% of our potential damage. And this is again where HE comes into play. So HE, very good against bow tanking battleships. Also works well against bow tanking cruisers and battleships. When you're talking cruiser caliber guns, is essentially the same. But when we spot a little DD, if we change to our high explosives when he's broadside, we should not overpen. And there we go, we got 6 penetrations. You can see we done significantly more damage to that destroyer. And there we go, we set another fire. And not only that, we've also broken his engine. So if he was moving, he would now be moving incredibly slowly. And 3 salvos later, and boom, that's a destroyer killed very easily. But like you said, if we'd used armor piercing, that would have taken us a lot longer. You know what? There's a Matsuki over there. We are at a further range, so more of our shells are going to miss. But hopefully we can showcase the same thing. So yeah, you can see over penetrations again, very minimal damage from a cruiser. That was slightly better salvo. I can see Mr. Cal's got his fishies on the way, but as you can see, that's 3 salvos. By the time our 4th salvo hits, if he survives, we've done half his hit points, whereas if we were firing HE, he'd already be dead. So these are the fundamental basics of the game and things that you need to pay attention on. So, what have we... We'll do a quick recap, shall we? So what have we learned? So if we go back to spotting, we now know what those circles mean. We now know why we're spotted, how spotting works. So if I'm in a battleship, if I'm spotted, it could be It's most likely it could be a cruiser or a destroyer. Either way, you need to pay attention, not sail in straight lines, move a little bit, because those threats from those torps, from those little DDs, are not great. Not only that, if you're spotted by a DD, cruisers and battleships that are behind cover, like we started at the beginning, can fire at you, and there is nothing you can do about it. You have no recourse. You can't return fire. So you want to be moving. You don't want to make yourself an easy target. You either want to get to cover, or at least don't sail in a straight line and get blown up. What else have we learned? So there is a difference between armor piercing and HE. They both very much have their uses. HE is good for anything that you're fighting that's bow on, that's coming directly towards you. AP is almost always more effective if they're broadside. If you're in a cruiser, again, we'll use ray gun as an example here. We want to aim up above the deck, as we discussed earlier. We want to aim at that superstructure because that will cause damage. And see, I just fired my guns and I got spotted. So this makes sense. This actually showcases the spotting a little bit. If you're fighting a DD, you almost always want to hit it with HE. If you've got AP loaded and you're in a battleship, fire your AP, because you do not want that sneaky little bugger disappearing and coming back and haunting you with their little with their nasty little fishies, those nasty little torpedoes. If you're in a battleship, your larger caliber guns can penetrate this hull armor on the side of battleships, so that is definitely when you want to be taking advantage of that. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open up the floor to my two little buddies here, Cal and Reagan, and ask them, actually, is there anything I haven't covered? Is there anything you think I've missed about the basics? I don't want to get into like advanced tactics, like talking about how big your guns are and overmatching bow armor and stuff. Hopefully Reagan will
pretty much it, really.
Hopefully Reagan will fire that Nevada and give us a spectacular kaboom, so we can showcase it again. The difference between he fired HE. Oh, Ray.
I know, you can't get the stat.
Gutted. As you can see, I shot that Nevada with the armor piercing from that angle, did very little. Because we've got a much better angle on that Emil, we can actually do... this kind of showcases, like, as you can see, as I get closer, as I'm getting further out here, as that angle is no longer broadside, he's angled sort of away from us, almost directly away. You can see that we're getting diminishing returns with our shells. So this would be a situation where you'd probably want to switch to high explosive to cause some more damage. But yeah, so hopefully you've learned something, and even if you haven't learned something, maybe this video has reminded you of something that you did actually know about the game, but you've just sort of let slip, you've let it slide, you've forgotten to pay attention to these little features. And if you did, slap that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. So until then, take care.